Good evening and thanks for watching. I'm Pat LaChapelle. Today's March 25th, 2026, and I'm working on developing a stock market model in Python. Before I get to work, I'm going to review the goals for this project, the progress I've made up to this point, and what I'm going to be working on today. I work on this project every day, so if you're interested in stock market models, Python, AI coding tools, or just markets in general, please like and subscribe to follow along on this journey. So I have two main goals for this project. First is to beat the S&P 500 by a significant margin and make money in all regimes. So if the S&P is going up, I want to beat it by a significant margin because otherwise you could just buy and hold the S&P to get the same or even better performance. Conversely, if the market's going down, I don't want to be beating the S&P but losing money. I want to be able to make money in all regimes. So I'm writing this code in Python. So the second goal I have for this project is to create a diverse and flexible and usable Python tool that anyone can use to create advanced models for themselves. If you're interested in that, you could find the repository link in the description. This is the repository right here. If you find it useful, please watch the repository and follow me on GitHub. Those things really help me out. It helps raise my profile, helps me get freelance coding gigs and coding jobs. So here's the outline, a basic outline for how the model's going to work. I have stock data going back to 2011. I want to isolate a stock universe, so you don't want to be using every stock in the data set. You want to filter out things like penny stocks and low volume stocks because they're going to be hard to trade on, and things like low volume stocks are going to create a lot of slippage. Then I'm going to use that to train the model. The model should predict returns or something that's a proxy for returns, like probability of going up or return relative to the market average. Once I have a really good returns model going, I'm going to then incorporate that into a portfolio model, which will allocate money based on the output of the returns model. So I've been working on this project since the beginning of the year. This is my progress from January. I started out getting data from NASDAQ. I should mention that not only do I want to create a usable Python tool, I want to make everything free. So all of the data has to be free that I'm incorporating into my tool. So that's why I started with NASDAQ data. I don't want to use some paid API because then other people will have to use that. I want to make everything free. So the problem with NASDAQ data is you have to download a CSV for each ticker for every day. And that's just going to be inefficient and actually impossible to do. You can't download like 8,000 tickers every single day. So an easier way to do that, I found a better data set. The link for that's also in the description. If you go to the repository, I give you instructions for how to install it on your computer. It's hosted on DoltHub, which is basically like GitHub for data sets. And it's a really good data set. And like I said, it contains all tickers going back to 2011, including those which have been delisted, so I'm able to avoid survivorship bias. The first thing I did was this basic analysis. So in the black plot here, you can see that I'm just comparing fundamentals for different tickers over time. And then on the right here, you can see I wrote some code for comparing different stocks in a sector. So you can see how all of them do to relative to the average performance of the sector. Now that's interesting. It's kind of cool to look at, but it's much more of a qualitative analysis rather than a quantitative analysis. And I'm looking for something that I can automate. So all I have to do is run one script, and it will make my picks for the day. So in order to do that, I built a light gradient boosting method model. Light gradient boosting methods are really common in machine learning for stock data and all markets in general. They handle missing values really well. They work really well on large data sets, and they work really well on time series data. And so since I have every ticker, there's about 8,000 tickers in the market at any given time. So I have a ton of data, and also it's obviously time series data, and there are missing values. So light gradient boosting method works well for all of these. The best I was able to achieve was about 51.5% directional accuracy. That was the initial metric I was looking at, and I wanted to get 53 or 54% to have a usable model. I later found out that there are better ways to assess the model, but I'll get to that in a second. I incorporated this into a portfolio strategy, and I did find something you can see here that works really well, but there were some problems with it. So the first thing I found that when I'm using this model, if I'm picking the bottom n number of volatilities, bottom n by volatility stocks per day, it performs better the lower n is. So with 500 stocks per day, it's underperforming the S&P. At 100 stocks per day, it's basically matching the S&P. If I trim it down to 20 stocks per day, it's finally beating the S&P, and doing one stock per day, it's beating the S&P 500 by a significant margin. So I looked here, I plotted the number of positions versus the Sharpe ratio. You want a Sharpe ratio above 1 in order for the model to be useful for predicting stock market data. If it's below 1, you're either not getting the returns you want or the model is way too volatile. And so this is kind of the first problem with this, is you see the only one that's working well is I'm picking one stock per day. And that indicates that it's really a fragile model. It's not robust to big market movements. If that stock happens to drop 20% in a day and my model wasn't accounting for that, I'm going to take a huge hit. The other thing is I tried thresholding this model. So this model that I have here above, it's predicting returns. This one's predicting probability of a positive return. And so I'm still getting a Sharpe ratio of about 1 for if I'm predicting over 50%. I tried increasing the threshold, and I found that if I increased it to 53%, I saw a good improvement in the model. 51 and 52% didn't give much of an improvement, and I got a really good improvement at 54%. The problem is if I increase the threshold to 55%, it's not making any picks. And so since the two best strategies are picking one stock per day and picking near the top of my percentage prediction, this means this is really a fragile model and not very robust. So the next thing I wanted to do is get a better model. Like I said, I was shooting for 53 or 54% directional accuracy. And what I wanted to do for that was run through all sorts of different features and targets to see how how I could really squeeze out the best performance for a model. Before I could do that, I had to organize the code base. So originally, when I got this result, I was writing a different script every time I changed how the universe was defined, every time I changed how the model was defined, and every time I incorporated a new portfolio strategy. So this had quickly blown up into dozens of files, and it was going to be hundreds or maybe even thousands by the time I finished. It really wasn't going to be usable for me, and it definitely wasn't going to be usable for anyone else. So I cleaned everything up. I wrote some filter classes. I already had clean data. I fed that into a stock universe class, which handles everything inside the class. This is really flexible and diverse because if I want to change anything at any point, I can incorporate that easily instead of having to write a bunch of code. I just have to write a few lines and I'll be able to have a new way to trim the stock universe. And it also makes it so that I can define the universe in just a couple lines of code. The next thing I did was create a returns model. That's its own class. And then I created a bunch of feature and target classes to feed into the returns model. And that's what took most of the time on this reorganization of the database. So I incorporated all of these features and targets. This is all for price data, which is the first thing I incorporated. Basically, this makes it so that I could do what I just said I wanted to do, run through a whole bunch of features and targets, and see how I can get the best model performance. So this took me all of January, this took me all of February, and at the beginning of this month, I was able to finally start looking at models. So this is the first thing I did, just feed every feature into the model and see how it performs. And I was actually getting worse directional accuracy than before. I kept looking at things. This is one interesting thing I found. So I found that the further out I'm looking into the future, the better it performs. So if I'm trying to predict one day, I'm really struggling at getting a good model. If I'm trying to predict 5 days into the future, I'm getting a better model. If I do 10 days, it's even better. 30 days into the future is even better than that, so on and so forth. I also defined these better metrics that I want to look at. So rather than just looking at the rather than looking at the directional accuracy, I decided I wanted to look at these features here. So um, ignore the top two. I'm really looking at the information coefficient, which is giving you how good your model is at predicting. The standard deviation of the information coefficient, which is giving the stability of the model, information coefficient to information ratio, both on a daily and annual basis. That's also telling you about the model stability, and then the t statistic, which is also a model stability metric. So you want a model that's really good at predicting, but you also want one that's really stable. You kind of have to balance those two. And so I was able to find a really good model here. You could see on this left plot, that's the decile analysis, and that should look roughly like a staircase. So it's going up. The lowest decile of your analysis is should be the worst. The highest decile, top 10% of your predictions should be positive returns, and that's what we're seeing here. Even more important than that, it's beating the metrics I'm looking for every metric. So you can see what I'm looking for here. So the information coefficient, I want above 0.01 to 0.02. Here I'm getting 0.0229. And you could look through the rest. It's beating everything except for the standard deviation. Here I'm saying it should be orders of magnitude smaller than the information coefficient. That actually proved not to be the case. I found this paper which is looking at lots of successful models that have been performed over time. And you see that the standard deviation of the information coefficient is actually 3 to 13 times as high. So rather than get something that's orders of magnitude smaller, I'm just looking for something that's in this range of 3 to 13 times. I did all sorts of tests for this model. I really tried to test it robustly, and it was performing really well. And once I finished all the tests, you see the metrics here actually improved. And so I thought I had a really good model. This is where I was almost 2 weeks ago. But then I found, this is where I was at the end of last week. So on Saturday, I was looking at this, and I found that if I'm changing the data split, so you have to split the data into training data to train the model, validation data to tune the hyperparameters of the model, and then testing data to see how the model performs on your test and make sure it's not overfitting. And so when I changed it from training on the first 60%, validating on the next 20%, and testing on the last 20%, that's when I got these really good results that I just went over. But then when I changed it to train on the first 50%, validate on the next 15%, and test on the last 35%, it turned out that the model actually wasn't performing well anymore, and I was failing to beat most of the metrics. And so I had to look into the reason for this. There could be a couple of reasons. One, you can see I'm using less validation data, and so the tuning of the hyperparameters isn't going to be as good. And also I'm using a lot more test data. So it could be that I just need to update the model more often, and testing on the last 35% of the data set, which is roughly like 4 or 5 years. That's just not going to work well with a model that's trained on much earlier data. So I did a walkthrough analysis, a walk forward analysis. This is basically you train a model for each year and then test how it's doing, train a new model for the subsequent year. So for this test, I divided the data into groups of 6 years. The first 4 years of the group was the training data. The second to last year of the group was the validation data to tune the hyperparameters, and the last year of the group was the testing year. So here's how it performed over the testing years, and you can see that the model performance is falling off kind of after 2020, but really after 2021. And you see in 2022, it's failing to hit my information coefficient target metric. It recovers in 23 to be just above the threshold I'm looking for, falls below again in 24, and recovers again in 25, but this is showing the information coefficient isn't as good as I need it to be in order to implement this. If we look at the information coefficient to information ratio, however, you see that this is also falling off at the same time period. However, it doesn't fall off below my target. So I'm still getting good enough stability for the model, but it's not giving me the predictive power that I'm looking for. So this is good, even though it turns out that the model isn't as good as I wanted it to be, and it's not ready for paper trading yet. It means that I don't need to go crazy and reinvent the wheel here. I just need to add something that's going to squeeze a little bit extra performance out of the model. The two most obvious ways to do that is incorporate fundamental data, so quarterly and yearly reports. That's the first thing. Turns out that's going to be really hard for me. This free data source that I'm using is kind of missing some fundamental data, and it only goes back to 2016. So even if it had all the fundamental data, I would have to cut out 5 years of my 16-year data set. That's almost a third of the data, and that's not something I want to do. So a better thing to do than that is to incorporate sector data, and that'll allow me to incorporate sector features and also normalize to sectors, each sector instead of the whole market, as I'm currently doing. So I need to pull sector data. I can do that. Again, I want to use free data only. There's the SEC has a database called the Edgar database where they have information for everything that's been listed in the market. And so this is a really good resource. I can pull sector data from this. So I wrote a script to do this. The first script I wrote was only getting sectors for about 55% of my tickers. I need it for every single ticker. This will help me avoid survivorship bias because the SEC Edgar database gives really easy way to find the sector for things that are currently listed, but for stocks which have been delisted, it has a lot of trouble finding those. Um, uh, what else? Oh yeah, also if you want to normalize to the sector, you need information for every sector. If I just wanted to implement the sectors as a feature, it would be okay to be missing some. But if I want to normalize, which is really going to help the performance, I need all of them. So I was getting 55% initially with the script. I was able to improve that here to 75%. I improved it to 93%, and then I haven't documented it, but 2 days ago I improved it to 97%. Yesterday I was working on getting the rest of the tickers, and I was able to do that here. So I have to check this. The code takes quite a while to run, and it's not the most interesting thing to watch on a stream. So I ran it last night at the end of the stream, right before I ended the stream, and then I got the output today. So today I'm going to be looking at this. I want to make sure that I'm getting sectors for every ticker and the missing tickers. If I have that, I'm going to put them together, and then I need to somehow do a test to make sure that it's getting the sectors correctly and not giving me the sector for the wrong stock. So if it's having trouble finding the stock, you can see here the code's going through and looking up every single name that is similar to this name. So one thing that could be happening is it's just finding the wrong name and getting me the wrong sector for the name. And I'm kind of concerned here because a lot of these say it's an investment office, investment fund. So I need to look at this. If it's working well, I'm going to go ahead and add the feature for the sector. And I'm also going to add a transform for the features and targets, which will allow me to normalize to the sector. So that's it. Let's get down to business. Hey, Sir Night Night and Paprika and Furpo. How are you guys? I can tell your background is in science and engineering and not engineering because software developers don't put together presentations this nice. Thanks. Well, that's exactly right. This is what I do for work because I got to put together a presentation to explain what I'm doing. So thanks. It's not that nice though. There's lots of crap slides in here, but really I'm just trying to document what I'm doing and summarize in a few slides I can skip through. That was a really long intro, but not the most interesting thing. But okay, so we have the sector data. I'm gonna take my sweatshirt off. The first thing I want to do here is make sure I have it for all missing data. And I also have to look through this because I had to basically add all sorts of tricks to the script to get it to pull the sectors for these ones that were still missing. But the concern here is that I'm getting the wrong sector. And if you look here, a bunch of these are investment offices and funds. That might be the case, but I just want to make sure so that I'm not messing anything up here. So let's do that. Oh, are you a software engineer? Yeah, well, probably that's more efficient. You don't spend your time going through and making a whole PowerPoint. Anyway, that's cool. What kind of software engineering do you do? I'm a professional game fac. What is... No, I'm not. I have no idea what a game fac is. Game fac. Let me look that up real quick. Game fac. Game facts. Frequently asked questions. You're a game frequently asked question. All right, so let's pull up universe data. So I'm just going to copy that from my script. Model Explorer. Let's get rid of data. Data retrieval we don't care about right now. Explorers, Model Explorer. So here's the data. Let's pull that. Right, universe is 1. Oh, not universe data. I want not that. I need to get the names. What do I call it here? Basically a document out of only ASCII art, though game facts were used for game guides in the early 2000s. Oh, wait. That's how what you present, you're saying, is a document out of only ASCII art. That's cool and aesthetic, though. Full stack developer for a bank? Are you Sam Bankman Fried? We make part of the site that does KYC to verify the customer. Wow, that's cool. What? So, or is it like things are always breaking and you have to fix them, or do you spend more of your time improving the interface and stuff? Anyway, that's cool. That sounds fun. Okay, so yeah, I need to see. Okay, data. It's probably easier to see if I view it in the Model Explorer. Sector info, sectors, quarterly fundamentals. Let's put it in a list, organized by date. Splits, save name, universe data. Wait a second. Sectors, unknown. C sectors, sector info, clean interest rates, treasury rates, annual fundamentals, all data with fundamentals. Where is the names? All right, so DF here. Okay, so let's look at pd.read. Load symbol name map. Oh, it's in there. Load symbol symbols path. Gosh, I made that kind of confusing. Oh, there we go. So let's copy that. Put it in. Now the release and development cycle is very, yeah, that makes sense. Wow, that sounds crazy. I've never heard a software engineer say that before, that it's a chill place to work. Usually they say, I'm going to kill myself, but I make a lot of money. Okay, so let's do symbols equals pd.read feather. And we want to read symbols path. All right, now if we look at the symbols. All right, so what do we want to get? Let's get, I guess we could just look at the first one, salve. So let's do symbols, where symbols dot account symbol. Oh, let's actually do, we'll do for, what's going on at the bottom here? We're saying Test unknowns here. Out df. All right, so if we look at out df dot head, all right, so we'll say for symbol in out df dot account symbol. So for each one of those, we're gonna say, oh, I forgot, it's the debugger, I can't print stuff. So let's just look at symbols, where symbols dot account symbol is equal to BAF. Dot security name. BlackRock. Oh, so that's the problem. All right, let's pull up the database. So Dolt Hub post no preference. Databases, stocks. OHLCV. Now let's go to symbol. All right, so let's go to BAF. So we're select everything from symbol where account symbol is equal to BAF. What? Where account symbol? Oh yeah, I forget. This isn't Python. I do that every time. So copy value. So BlackRock municipal income investment quality. So I'm not getting the trust part. Is it a So I want to know, is it just showing that dot 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 in pandas because it doesn't want to, or in Python because it doesn't want to print the whole thing? Or is that like a problem with how I'm pulling the information? All right, so why do I see the dot 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 here? Does is this the is dot 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 contained in the string, or is Python just abbreviating? We usually just add whatever new tech helps fight fraud to the web app and add and remove features that product thinks will help improve our funnel. Is it fun or boring? I don't think I could work on the computer all day. I love the computer, but I don't think I could do it, only the computer. Oh, print. Oh, good. Yeah, of course. So we'll do that. So we'll see if dot 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 is in that. So yeah, that's not the problem. So now I want to see, All right, so what is the name of that? It's BlackRock. Okay, so I'm just gonna pull up the things here. So, let's go through. I'm kind of concerned because a bunch of these say it's an investment office. Oh, we gotta get down to the bottom of this. Okay, so pull up that web page I was looking at. Oh my gosh, I have too many things open. Okay, so before I incorporate the sector stuff, I have to make sure it's working right. It's fun, but I've never had a professional job like yours. I would say the opposite. I would say I've never had a professional job like yours. I work at a university. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, but it makes no money. It's like the big trade off in physics. You're either some like top guy. The problem is for me that I don't have a PhD. I've been um, averse to getting a PhD. So physics is cool, but the stuff is cool, but it's a bureaucracy. And I don't fit in well with bureaucracies, so that kind of has made it hard, as you can tell, because I've never gotten a PhD. Um, but it's also, PhD, it's just following some system. That's not what physics is about. That's not what science is about. It's not. I'm good at following a system. I'm good at thinking. I would like to know how to code like you to build things. Dude, you just got to do it. Pick a project and start rolling. And dude, it's so much easier with the AI. The key is to not be lazy with the AI cuz sometimes it feels like it could just write everything for you. You have to do basic stuff. Like I want to do this. How do I do this? How do I do that? But I'm not even that good at coding as Paprika could tell you. Um, okay, so this is what we want to look up. What is this? Okay, so let's, where did the AI go? All right, we could use Claude. Um, give me a sector for, what sector is that guy in? I have a friend who went halfway through his quantum physics PhD to learn he doesn't like physics. Yep. He wants to take over his parents' bookstore when he finished. That's funny. That's a lot of people. Physics, since it's a or really any sort of science, is a bureaucracy. You could tell science is broken. That's why I'm excited about this. If I could get this to work and make money, then I'm just gonna start, and then I'll have some money to spend. Um, Ideally, I would never get my PhD, and I'll just start live streaming physics research. I know how to do experiments, all the analysis. I have a feel for what the edge is. Um, I could just do it on my own. Um, yeah, I know that's funny. Yeah, but you wouldn't believe how many people I know that don't even like it. They don't have the fire in their belly. Um, Operates in the fixed income municipal bond sector. How did you determine this? All right, so that one looks good. Now, let's try one BLL. All right, so let's look at BLL. I'm not gonna look at all these. I'm just gonna test a bunch of them, and if it's looking good, then I'll go forward. Ball Corporation common stock. Metal cans. Ball Corporation, is that like ball jars? What sector is in. Another problem with physics, like, is that it has, this isn't just physics. This is any science. Lots of people who are in it are the people who did really well in high school. Then they went to a really good college, did really well in college. It's smart people with like high brain power, high IQs. And then they'll go like, you go to college and then you do a PhD program, then you're a postdoc. Next thing you know, you're a professor. And then they look around one day and they don't have, the fire in their belly. They don't love it. And that's kind of a real problem. Since I'm like a weird guy, I did really poorly in high school. Then I went to 2 community colleges. Then I went to college. And then I just got a job in a physics lab. The only way, and I've made no money since 2021 doing it. I've made money, but my salary, my last job, I made $34,000 a year. My current job, I make 51. So it's not like, I'm chasing money or whatever. So, um, yeah, what's the point of that? Oh, it's just kind of a problem with like bureaucracies is smart people work their way up but don't love it. That's literally the problem with every bureaucracy. They have a bunch of, it's the same thing with government. There's a bunch of really smart people working as like experts in the government and they don't love whatever they're doing. They just love being smart. You got to find whatever you're passionate about. Ball works in the packaging and containers industry. Largest producer of aluminum beverage cans. Okay, that looks good. All right, so let's look up ePay. ePay is obviously gonna be some software crap. All right, what about FOE? Faro Corporation common stock. What about Faro Corporation common stock? Yes, that's exactly right. But I think, with like um, I think that's the future. Like everybody's worried about jobs going away, but this is like what happens in every industrial revolution. And you don't want to be the guy who's like worked on a farm and he's like railing against the new farm equipment. You want to be the guy who like gets his hands on the new farm equipment and has the most efficient farm. And that's what this industrial revolution is with AI. And so like jobs are going to go away and there's not even going to be like normal jobs like how we've been used to our whole lives. Everyone's going to work for themselves. So I think that's like the future. And also it's way more in line with like the ideal of science is, when you read books about the guys from like the 1700s, 1800s, 1900s, or not really 1900s, maybe, yeah, really like 17 and 1800s. It's a bunch of like crazy people kind of like doing science themselves, and that's how all the innovations are made. It's not made from like some giant company. Like people love to think of like the Manhattan Project as like peak physics, and that is like peak physics for like a big project. They did something crazy that couldn't be done before, but it's not really, that's very different from like Maxwell or Faraday or Newton. Basic metals sector. FOE, specifically in specialty chemicals, producer of specialty materials with segments and functional coatings. Good. All right, now lots of these are investment offices. I don't know if he does. um, I wonder how many times physics burnouts become quants. Yeah, well, lots of people. I knew several people who did their PhDs and then. Are you going to bed? Oh. Nighty night.
Night time for the mum.
Okay, night night time for the mum. Have a good sleep. Love you too. Okay, I won't. I'll try not to. No, but that's a really common thing because basically, I knew a girl who was doing her PhD in um, the hell do you call it? Earth science. But basically, she got good at coding and stats and stuff. All right, this one's looking good. Let's look up another one. She got good at coding and stats and stuff. And then she got hired by an AI company. So you can easily, that's one good thing about physics. If you don't really know what you want to do, but you're really smart, you can kind of just use your skills for like things that make a lot of money. I think it's very common for physicists to become quants. And what was that? Some guy recommended a channel. Somebody recommended a channel like a few days ago, and I looked up his channel, and it says that he's a physics PhD student, and he's doing quant research. So I'm sure it's pretty common. All right. So what about? All right. Fixed income bond sector. All right. So this looks like it's all working really well. Let's just try a few more. And these, the other sectors I have don't have this like complicated reasoning. Um, lots of them are obtained through like simple searching. So I don't need to worry about them as much. If these are working well, I'm pretty confident everything else is working well. Okay, INAP. Lots of math and statistical analysis. Would be weird if there weren't tons. No, yeah, that's true. Well, the Jim Simons, right, Sir Night Night? Jim Simons was a physics guy. Physics guy, math guy. The good thing about physics and math, especially math, do you ever hear that thing they say physics is applied math, chemistry is applied physics, biology is applied chemistry, so on and so forth. If you know the base, the core, the math, you can kind of do anything you want. And same thing with coding. Coding, they use literally everything uses. If you know coding, it'll help you at any job. So, Internap. Which one was that again? Internap. INAP. INAP is services, computer processing, and data prep. All right. So this looks like it's working well. So let's save missing tickers retrieved. Is equal to, we just have to save it actually. So what was this data set called again? Symbols. Oh no, not symbols. OutDF. So now we could save it. OutDF.to feather. Missing sectors 2025. No, that's not what we want. Dot feather. Why did I say 2025? I don't know why I said that. Okay, so let's look. Now we have sectors. And then we have don't want to save it here. So let's save it to /data/. I wonder how good these tools are for mineral investing. Ore grades and fluctuating spot prices don't show up on the balance sheet for undeveloped properties. Well, I don't know if it's in the SEC Edgar database that'll have it. I mean, do they What do you mean it doesn't show up on the quarterly reports or what? You're trying to find it? If it's in the quarterly report, it's in the SEC Edgar database. I don't know enough about quarterly reports though, so I don't know exactly what info's in there. Okay, so now we have the sector data. And then let's look, so here I want to, where am I saving it? So when I'm doing get all, okay, then we'll say sector df dot to CSV sectors, let's put it in data. So dot slash, whoa, okay, yeah, I'll take that. How do you take the suggestion? I don't know how to use that. But that's fine, I'll save it. Okay, then now I want to go in and add everything. So let's go to data and open up Python, import pandas. Oh no, I need, am I in Conda? Yeah, I am. Import pandas. Yes, I did pay for Claude. I paid for it yesterday because I was using this, but then I don't know, this thing kept crashing over here, so I decided I'll just use it in the internet. But I mean, it's useful anyway because I'm using it for work. I was gonna try to get my boss to pay for it, but I'm kind of lazy, and you wanna save your leverage with the boss for things that are important. You want the boss to help you get a better job. You don't want him to, pay for an AI for you. Okay, so what was I doing again? Get pandas as PD. Then let's say sectors. I'll call this incomplete sectors is equal to pd.read feather. I don't think it would show up on anything in the report, the value of property. Yeah, well then, if you could make that data set, then people would pay money for that data set. But you have to figure out, where do I get the information from? How do you even get that information? Do they even share that? No, I'm not in. Wait, that's interesting. What made you think? Why do you guys think I'm in Seattle? I used to live in Seattle. I went to UW. Is it because you see my shirt? I don't know, but that's two people asked at the same time. Hey, NGK. No, I'm not in Seattle. But I lived in Seattle. Do you guys know Federal Way? I lived in Federal Way with my grandpa from 2016 to 2018, and then I lived in Seattle from 2018 to 2021. Then I lived in Baltimore from 2021 to 2025. Now I live with my parents in California. I grew up in California. All right, PD, Southern California. Oh yeah. That's where I went for college, University of Washington. I'm a third generation, fourth generation University of Washington guy. My dad went to the University of Washington. My aunt went there. My grandma went there for nursing school. And my great grandmother was like she was the first class of nursing students out of UW. And the first class of nursing students, they needed a bunch of nurses for the Spanish flu. So that was like 1920 or something. Incomplete sectors is read feather sectors dot feather. Oh, nice. You're in Vancouver. Oh, Vancouver, Washington. I was thinking Vancouver, Canada, eh? Import OS. Oops, here. Oh, north of Vancouver. But you're in Vancouver, Washington, right on the border? Vancouver's cool because it's basically a suburb of Portland, right? But you don't have income tax unless you're a millionaire now. Nice. Canada, eh? Toronto, Victoria. You guys are all from There's a whole bunch of people from the Northwest. Cool. I've been to Victoria once when I was a lad. My cousins lived in Seattle growing up. I've spent tons. Nice. What's your favorite neighborhood of Seattle then? I used to deliver newspapers in Seattle, so I know I used to deliver newspapers in like south, not south of Seattle. It's like if you know where the Goodwill is, off of Dearborn Street. The Goodwill off of Dearborn Street is my was my first stop on my paper route, and then I stopped that because some lady stole. I played in a recreational softball league at the time. Um, Oh, sector info. I played in a recreational softball league when I was delivering newspapers, and I had a few interactions with homeless people. But this one homeless lady stole my cleats out of the back of my truck. Sector info. Oh, sector info. Oh yeah, she stole the cleats out of the back of my truck, and then that was a crazy interaction. So, where the hell is it? os.listdir sectorinfo.feather. Oh, it's CSV. Um, yeah, so that was one crazy thing. Another time I was at the gas station and some lady came up and she says, "Can I have a ride?" And I said, "No, you can't have a ride." And then I finished filling up gas and I opened my door and she was sitting in my truck. So I stopped that after a little bit. But I hung out in Cap Hill. Nice. Capitol Hill's the best. When I lived at UW, they have a really good train system in Seattle. So I would always take the train to Capitol Hill. Capitol Hill is like more fun than the U District, where the university is, the University District. University District's cool, but it's all like frat guys and sorority girls and then nerds. Capitol Hill's more fun. But I don't know. It's also kind of crazy. That's where they had the famous Chaz, Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. So that gives you a clue what Capitol Hill people are like. They're kind of crazy. You don't even register. Dude, that's so true. When I lived in Baltimore, people always talked about how bad Baltimore was and how crazy. People in Baltimore would be like, "Oh man, the homeless problem here is bad." And I was like, "This is nothing. You run into like a few homeless people and they're all friendly." It's nothing compared to Seattle. Seattle homeless people could be mean. The average homeless person I met in Seattle was mean and nasty. The average homeless person in Baltimore was nice. All right, incomplete sectors, and then so incomplete sectors. So let's get how many unknowns are there. So incomplete sectors, where incomplete sectors dot sector is equal to unknown. I want to make sure I'm looking at the right, because I've saved a few of these sector data sets. 5677 rows. I hope I saved the sectors from the last run, otherwise that's going to be a pain in the ass. Alright, let's list the directory again. Is there anything else it could be? For file in os.listdir print file. Oh, after 14. Well, my whole family's from Seattle. My dad grew up there. My grandpa actually grew up near Vancouver. And do you know oh damn, what's the name of that place? Not Aberdeen, it's right by Aberdeen. Hoquiam. Do you know Hoquiam? That's where my grandpa grew up. Why is it bad in Vancouver? Yes, that's exactly how the homeless people in Seattle are. They act nuts. Symbols, sectors. All right, so pd.read. So I'll say incomplete sectors just is is. Incomplete sectors is pd.read csv sectors.csv. Gotta put it in quotes. Yeah, the West Coast does have a lot of homeless people, but I read an interesting article What's wrong with that? You can't call it IS. Oh, of course. So let's get how many unknowns are there. Where IS of IS dot sector is equal to unknown. Unknown. KNOWN. 330. Okay, that's our unknown. And then we'll say found sectors is equal to pd.read feather. Sectors, symbols, quarterly fundamentals, earnings calendar, all fundamentals, universe data, annual fundamentals. We want a feather file. C sectors. I think it's that one. I should know, I just saved it. Dot feather. FS. No. I've saved too many sector data sets. Feather, 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 feather. Universe data, nope. ETFs. C sectors, not that one. Oh, there it is. Missing sectors 2025. Yes, that's true. Yeah, I mean, that's what I always think. People always say, oh, the West Coast cities have gone mad. Because they allow all the homeless people. And I always think, yeah, because if I was homeless, I would go live in California. Okay, good. So that's 330 rows. So now we want to say for, okay, so for, so what if I do is dot sector of 0? Yeah, so that works. Canada is cold, like he said, but Vancouver's survivable in the winter, plus major port 5 minutes from downtown. Yeah, that's what everyone says about Vancouver. Vancouver, you guys have a big heroin area. Anyway, y'all worry about coding. You mean I gotta get down to business? I agree. Okay, so IS, incomplete sectors. All right, so let's say for, yeah, how do I, for row in incomplete sectors dot iter rows. Let's enumerate that. For C row and enumerate iter rows. I just want to make sure I forget how iter rows works. If C is equal to 0, print row. Dot sector. Dot sector. So how do I want to say for the account symbols, if the sector is unknown, oh, I'll just say unknowns is equal to, you worked at Microsoft as an intern. Dang, really? You met Bill Gates? That's crazy. What'd you think of him? Was Epstein there? When was that? What era of Bill Gates did you meet him? Queen Anne. Yeah, I love Queen Anne. Um, yeah, I miss Seattle. Seattle's a like, Seattle has the reputation of raining all the time, but nobody understands who hasn't lived there in the summer that Seattle's the best place in the world in the summer. It literally is the best place in the world. Perfect weather, never rains. Beautiful city. The lakes everywhere, so much water. It's so fresh. Yeah, that is crazy. What'd you do? Yeah, that was my question too. Was Epstein there? Did you? My brother said. I probably shouldn't say too go into too much detail, but my brother works with high school students, and he said that whenever a high school student isn't there, all the other kids go, "Oh, he went to. He's on vacation. He's visiting Little Saint James." Anyway, that's the island, right? Little Saint James. Yep, Epstein's Island. So who owns that now? Unknowns is incomplete sectors, where incomplete sectors dot sector is equal to unknown unknown dot account. Okay, I'll say that. So let's look at unknowns. I keep spelling unknown wrong. Nice, using the kid language. If you visit the Seattle in the summer, you get catfished into moving there. Yes, that's exactly right. No, yeah, I'm just kidding. A lot of kids from Ivy League schools asked him their toughest questions. Whoa, really? So he is smart? That's always what I've thought. You know, his dad was a banker, so I've always thought Bill Gates is fake. I always thought, he just got a lot of money. My dad actually, when my dad was at UW, he was in the computer lab. When you had a big huge computer in the basement. It was in the basement of some building, and he said that supposedly he was there at the same time as Bill Gates when Bill Gates was in the computer lab, but he didn't see him or remember him or anything. Um, he was really into biosciences at that time. Yeah, that sounds like Bill Gates. Sounds like his thing. Um, so unknowns is equal to unknowns. Oh, okay. So I could just say for symbol for sim in unknowns dot account symbol. All right. So for each unknown symbol, oh, I could actually say for symbol in finished sectors dot account symbol incomplete sectors dot incomplete sectors of sim. Oh no. Oh no, he's legit smart. His house is the most incredible house you'll ever see, and it's humongous. He had top flight security. Well, he must have. He's Bill Gates. Is it this house? Is this still his house? Oh crap. Oops. His primary residence known as Xanadu 2.0. All right. He's in Medina, of course. That's where all the rich people live in Seattle. I guess is Medina. I don't think it's technically in Seattle. Sounds like a cool house. Okay, so for each account symbol, damn. All right, so is of 0, what's that give us? Is dot iterRows of 0, row for row in is dot iter rows, and then you get the 0th row. Yeah, so how do I do this? Okay, unknowns. Okay, let's say is fs. Let's give it to the AI because this is taking me too long. Here are... Yeah, what does Xanadu even mean? So you saw 2.0 or 1.0? Whoa. You were there. So you have a full-on coding career, Paprika. Did you get any Microsoft stock? Oh, I think that's exactly right. I think Xanadu isn't Xanadu Planet X. They call it Planet X. Here are my 2 data frames. is is missing. Is gives unknown for several, unknown as a sector for several for several symbols, for several tickers. Account symbol. fs contains the correct sector for each of these unknowns. How do I put the correct sector in fs into is so that it replaces unknown with the name of the sector? Of Abraham Lincoln. I'm a Lincoln fan. So honestly, Sir Night Night, you're making Bill Gates cool. Cooler than... I wasn't a Bill Gates fan, and now I think he's cool. Yeah, I got some stock that vested, and then I blew half of it. Oh, that was the stock you... That's the... You said yesterday you blew a bunch of money on uranium shit companies. So now, investing is your main hobby. That's a pretty good hobby to have. You're ahead of most people. Everyone invests in uranium. I guess that's the time to get out of uranium. The thing is, if they make nuclear fusion work, then nobody's going to need uranium. You're just going to need like seawater, lithium, I think that's it, because the plastics to make the capsules out of are, I think, pretty cheap. Yeah, so then that's the big question with uranium. If fusion goes online, is uranium going to become worthless? Or is it just going to be easier to set up a uranium reactor, a fission reactor? Oh, well, okay. I don't think he's cool. But I don't know, the Abraham Lincoln stuff, being able to answer every question from the smart kids, that makes him pretty cool. Okay, so I'll say is original so I don't lose it. Okay, now let's look at IS and FS. So let's see. So let's pull up IS, where IS dot account symbol is equal to I don't know, BAF. Oh, IS. Good, we have it now. So now we'll say IS dot to CSV sectors dot CSV. Could do CSV instead of feather because it's not that big. Oops. Okay, now we have the sectors. I'm gonna run this again. So let's go to because now earlier I wasn't sure it's getting everything right. Now I'm really confident in it, but I changed it a little bit. But you don't want to sit here for 3 hours while this runs and watch that on a stream. I don't want to do that as my stream, so I'm just gonna run that in the background. So let's turn get all back on. And then if get all is true, save it to sectors. So I'll save it with the date. So what's the date? March 25th, 0325.csv. No, why would I do 03256? That sounds really stupid. Like, yeah, sometimes the AI, you know, what the hell was that suggestion? Why would I do 03256? Why does it want me to add a 6? Alright, so make sure get all is on. Let's make sure we have sectors.csv. That was the one I just saved, right? Sectors.csv. Sectors.csv today, 2:14 a.m. Okay. And so then if this works, I'm gonna check or it will work. I'm gonna go back and make sure everything's working right. So get all sectors 0325, save, and now we could go run that script. CD data retrieval. Okay, we finally got the sectors. That took me like what? Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. 5 days on getting the sectors, but I finally got the sectors. And it should be easy from here. Well, it makes him knowledgeable, but also it makes him, you know, I just think people who like to use their brains are cool. And sometimes you have people who like to appear as like a smart guy, and then they don't use their brains. But then, you know, Bill Gates, lots of stuff he does shows he has bad morals. And more than anything, trying to sneak the antibiotics into his wife's oatmeal or whatever. Or tea. And being boys with Epstein. I don't know, man. Also, you're Bill Gates. Couldn't you get any girl in the world? Why do you need to... I mean, what a loser. Gotta get with Epstein. So let's run... What the hell was that? Oh, pull sectors v3. So now I can delete the other stuff. Well, no. I'll just do this for now. And if it works, I'll clean up the repository and finally add it. Pull sectors v3. Okay, so now that's running. And now we have sectors.csv, so I can use that to incorporate features. It was something like that. It was oatmeal or tea. I forget. It was some breakfast thing. He wanted to put it in. It was either, I think it was either oatmeal or tea, but I'm not sure which. My friend who's been into renewable energy told me fusion has been 10 years out. That is, dude, look up. That's what everyone says. Dude, this is the time to get in. Basically, all the fusion companies are private right now. There's one fusion company you could buy on the stock market, but they're looking at like wacky stuff. But look at this 2022 um, NIF. So the 2022 NIF fusion experiment. Basically, there's this thing in fusion, break even. It's where you get more energy out than you're putting in. And so fusion for it, yeah, it's been 10 years out for the last 50 years. But basically until 2022, they were getting less energy out than they were putting in. 2022, they had this experiment where here it is, December 5th, 2022. They launched the age of ignition. All right, whatever. This what a bunch of bullshit. But it is cool. They had an experiment. Yeah, produced more energy. Yeah, well, what's the energy? Um, explain concisely. Basically, they got like 3.2 megajoules out and put 2.7 megajoules in. And since then, they've just iterated on that and gotten better results. And basically, what that means, it's the first time you're able to get more energy out than you're putting in. The lasers they're using are. Oh, okay. So the key is they're putting in 2.7 megajoules of laser energy, and you get out 3.2 megajoules. Um, and you get out 3.2 megajoules of energy, and that's the whole thing of fusion. Is if is if you're getting more energy out than you're putting in, then you just pour the energy back into the system, and you get more energy out. And so basically, it's an infinite energy machine. All you need is the materials. The materials you need, ideally, is just ocean water. You need to feed it ocean water. And you basically, with ocean water, you get unlimited energy. It's a little bit more complicated than that. You need stuff like basically, you need to convert the fuel. You have, hydrogen. And then if you have hydrogen with an extra proton, I think, I always forget what that is. You have deuterium. Isotope containing one proton and one. So so hydrogen is just a proton and electron. Then you have deuterium, which is a proton and a neutron and an electron. And then you have tritium, which is two neutrons are in the nucleus. And basically, deuterium tritium fuel you can make efficiently fusion reactions. You could also do it with deuterium, but it's a lot less efficient. And so the whole, there's only like 20 pounds of tritium that exist in the whole world. So when you're doing that, you need to convert the deuterium back to tritium somehow. And the best way to do that I'm aware of is lithium breeding blankets, they call them. And so then that becomes another finite resource, is you need lithium. But the big drawback to the experiment was you're getting more energy out than you're putting in. More energy is coming out than you're putting in with the laser. So 2.7 joules going in with the laser, 2.7 megajoules going in with the laser, 3.2 megajoules output. But then you need 400 megajoules to charge the laser, 400 megajoules to send the laser pulse. So it's not there. But that's like that happened in 2022. So fusion's on the way. It's just a matter of when it's going to happen. And there are two ways to do it. One way is that inertial confinement. Basically, it's you need to have a reaction. You need to have at least 6 reactions per second. But you also have magnetic confinement, where you just can hold the plasma, and it's making fusion inside. But that gets so hot that they don't have materials that really work for that long term. But anyway, fusion's on the way. It'll be here in 30 years. I don't think it's 10 years out. I don't think commercial fusion is, but it's coming. But yeah, that's so I guess if your timeline on uranium is like 10 years, you'll probably be fine. And also, once fusion works, that'll get people excited about nuclear energy, and nobody really knows much. So they'll just go, oh, nuclear energy, let's do fission reactors, and then uranium will become super valuable again. Okay, so let's explain the code. I have a list of, I have a data frame. Oh yeah, I was going to answer that question. How did you decide to use feather files? I work in the quant space. We have a lot of flat file partition data, but we primarily use Parquet. Parquet is really good too. Feather is basically just really fast. Parquet, I forget what the difference is between Feather and Parquet. I think the big advantage of Parquet is you can save it into a bunch of different files, and then when you read it in, you can just smush the files together into a single data frame. So it's a lot easier for that, but I think Feather is faster, I believe, or maybe it's a smaller file. There's not much of a difference between Feather and Parquet. Explain key differences. But basically both are way better than CSV. Anyway, thanks for joining in, Derek. You should join the Discord, and then you could help us build our quant models. Me and Sir Night Night and the other people in the Discord who are building quant models. We want information. We want your information. Help us. I can't help you. Sir Night Night knows a lot of stuff, though. He could probably help you. Both are columnar, designed for feathers, optimized for speed of reading and writing. Parquet's optimized for storage efficiency, so I guess that's it. Feather reads in faster, but look how fast the Feather file reads in. What is the oh, gotta end the quotes. Boom, there it is. So what is that, 3 million rows? 2.7 million? Reads it in like 2 seconds. Seemed like there is a compression difference, and Feather is more used for ephemeral. I don't even know what ephemeral means. Ephemeral means like it goes away quickly, it exists for a short time. Oh, wow, I guess I do know what ephemeral means. Alright, so I have a data set which gives the sector for each ticker in my database. Okay, I'm going to tell it first. I'm building a framework in Python for creating a quant model for the stock market. I have a data set which gives the sector for each ticker in my database saved in the hell is it saved in again? I think it's just sectors.feather. Sector. Shit. Where did I save that? Oh, sectors.csv. Saved in sectors.csv. The first, okay, // data / sectors.csv. The first screenshot shows what this data looks like. I also have classes for generating features and targets in feature engine.py. these are fed into the model class, capital M, in clean analysis.py. Write update feature engine .py to incorporate a new feature, which a new categorical feature, which gives the sector names, which contains the name of each stock's associated sector. Also update the model so that it reads this as a categorical. What are the types of what are the common types of features to use in my LGBM model? For example, categorical, etc. Okay, so the main categories: numerical, continuous, categorical. Numerical and continuous. Reads this as a categorical feature rather than a continuous or numerical feature. Do I want it to do anything else? No. Just have to screenshot the data and give it the code. Quick look. Okay. Here is not data retrieval scripts, and we're going to give it feature engine and clean analysis. Before updating, before giving the code, determine whether this will be easy to incorporate into feature engine.py without significant changes. If significant changes are required, stop there and help me generate a plan to perform to do what I want to do. B, I'll just say reason from first principles. Right? Is that it? I think we're good. All right, so let's see what this says. While this runs, I'm going to go get a drink because I have a headache. All right, cool. I'll be right back in like 30 seconds. Thanks for watching. Endlessly. Good girl, you know it. You act so different around me. Yeah, so don't look now, but that piece, the fake peace deal is falling through. Everyone knew that was going to happen, but this is the oil stock that I bought, United States Oil Fund. Um, and yesterday it really dropped. It went all the way down to $110 a share. But now it's climbing its way back, and now it's up at $115 a share. I have about half of my portfolios in this, so I'm hoping it goes up. But this is the last 5 days. So this is when Trump, it rose over the weekend. Trump said we were going to bomb Iran Monday night if we didn't come. I don't know if they didn't subjugate themselves or something. I'm not sure what. But then he said, "Oh no, we're making a peace deal." But and then here, supposedly J.D. Vance is going to make some deal with them. Yeah, right. Now we're coming back up. So here comes the recession. I hope you guys are well positioned. Wait, what do you mean I'm buying low volatility? Look at this over the last month. This is crazy. Do they have a volatility chart? I don't know. I don't really look at charts much. The guy I work with tells me I need to look at charts. What is this again? USO volatility chart. I mean, anyway, it's not. Oh, you morons! I'm not signing up for shit. Anyway, blah blah blah. It's been high volatility recently. Low volatility is boring. But I want to have once this strategy works, I want to have obviously use this, but I still want to trade geopolitics because it's like if you just there's so much bullshit that goes on in the news. If you could just figure out what's really going on, just like basically reason from first principles, you have such an edge. Uh, and also the Bitcoin cycle. I'm not gonna stop trading that till it breaks. Bitcoin cycle says we should go down and hit a minimum at the end of the year. and then we'll go back up. We'll return to the previous all-time high of 130,000 around the election in 28. So I'm waiting, holding off on Bitcoin. I had to put earlier this year, but I sold it because I got scared because of the Iran war. Basically, I was afraid that the thesis of Bitcoin would finally, prove right, and the cycle would break. It's not going to break long term, but I thought it might go up, and I wanted to take my profit. So now I'm waiting for the end of the year. My plan is between October 1st of this year and January 1st of next year, I'm averaging into Bitcoin. What do you guys think of that? Won't be easy to add without significant changes. It's relatively trivial integrating. Hey, buddy, stop whining. Where are you? Where are you? Oh, you want out? Okay. Okay, so, inject noise. To do this correctly, we need to upgrade your framework to differentiate between numerical and categorical features. Add to registry, phase 1 execution. I view Bitcoin as a financial. Yes, it does move with the S&P, but if you look at the Bitcoin cycles, basically the Bitcoin halving, Bitcoin runs so that it halves the reward for mining Bitcoin, halves every 4 years. And so you see, okay, we have the tops. Show us the halving. The halving happens every 4 years, and then the peak happens every 4 years. What is this? Predicted? What the hell is this? I don't know what the fuck that is. Show me the Bitcoin chart log scale since 2013. Mark the cycle lows, all-time highs, returns to previous all-time high, and halvings. Okay, so let's see what it says. Back to this. I subscribe to a real estate thesis which claims that in times of high home building demand, commodities outperform financial assets. In times of high home building demand, so what defines high home building demand? Because now the problem is now you have like the people who are homeowners don't want it's a thing in Seattle. People who are homeowners don't want apartment buildings, which you can make the argument it keeps it nice. One of the nice things about Seattle is you could be in a neighborhood 1 second and then be in a big city the next second, be in a park the next second. Anyway. Yeah. So say that. Tell me that. What defines high home building demand? To do this correctly, we need to update your framework. So, okay, then execute write in feature engine.compute write logic that intercepts requests for sector loads. Okay, that sounds easy. Feature engine will be easy. Update feature routing and model. This doesn't sound. I think access to information for Bitcoin is really low. Besides sentiment and previous price, what other indicators are there really? I don't care about any indicators really other than the cycle. Let's see if it gave me the cycle chart. Yeah, so look at this. Peaked up at the all-time high end of 2013. So let's just look at the all-time highs first. So end of 2013, it ran up to the all-time high. End of 2017, it hit the all-time high. End of 2020, so end of 2013, 4 years later, end of 2017, 4 years later, end of 2021, 4 years later, end of 2025. Every 4 years, really reliable. Now let's look at the lows. So the low, end of 2014, beginning of 2015. Next low is end of 2018. So end of 20, this is beginning of 2015, set it off by a month. Let's say end of 2014 for simplicity's sake. We hit the end of 2014, beginning of 2015. And 4 years later, end of 2017. End of 2018, beginning of 2019. So 1 year after the all-time high, hits the low for the cycle. 4 years later, end of 2021. End of 2022, beginning of 2023 hits the low. And so if that continues, end of 2022, beginning of 23. So then end of 26, beginning of 27 will be at the all-time low. The low for the cycle. Okay, so here's the halving. Halving, July 2016, April, 4 years later, May 2020, a little off. 4 years later, April 2024. So the halving's getting slightly earlier, but it's basically every 4 years. Now let's look at the return to the previous all-time high. February 2017. Okay, that was kind of early. Then next return to the previous, November 2020. Next return to the previous, March 24. Is that right? March 24, it hit 71,000. I guess then it fell off. And then it returned again in October. So I'm a little bit wrong about the return to the previous all-time high, but the all-time high is basically every 4 years. The low is basically every 4 years. Local minimum. And then the halving's every 4 years. So the theory is the reward drops, the halving occurs. When the halving occurs, basically you're losing money mining Bitcoin. So then that drives the number of basically when the reward for mining halves, basically it's only profitable for miners if the price goes up. And then the price goes up, people go crazy and they panic. And then after, no, they don't panic. They, what's it called? FOMO, fear of missing out. They go, oh my God, Bitcoin's gone up double. Let me buy in. And then it drives up to a crazy high price. Then it drops back down and gets reasonable. Then it kind of floats around. And then it halves again. You get the FOMO again. It goes crazy. And also, if you look at, and so if that's the thesis, you would say, okay, the volatility, it should be evening out over time. So show me a chart of Bitcoin volatility over time. And you see the volatility each cycle is dropping because people are becoming aware of the cycle. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I know, right? Isn't that crazy? It's super stable. High interest rates go hand in hand. You're interested in prediction markets. Prediction markets are cool, but like I was really into betting, and then like in baseball they had the guys like there was that one guy for the Reds who was betting, or he knew people who were betting. Somehow somebody was betting on him throwing the first pitch as a strike or a ball, and then he would just do whatever the person bet on. They would bet on like the low odds. And he got busted for it, but prediction markets have the same problem. There's some guy who made a bunch of money predicting on how many times Elon's going to tweet in a day. That stuff's just so ripe for insider trading. It makes me like the stock exchange more because, things are regulated by the SEC. But yeah, it's a super stable cycle thesis. Yeah, I'm kind of familiar with the cycles. I've been in ETH since like 2017. But have been burned on some really bad crypto decisions since primarily Matic and other layer 2. Hey, join the club. I got totally burned on Cardano. I was all in on Cardano in 2021. And I first heard about it in the 2017 cycle. Someone told me, oh, you should buy Bitcoin. And it was after it had peaked and it was dropping down. And I thought, yeah, whatever, dope. Bitcoin's dropping like crazy. Um, yeah, so you know all about the cycle. So I got sold on this because I was interested in Bitcoin, and then Cardano was like supposed to be the libertarian um, crypto. Really, Bitcoin's the libertarian crypto. Um, and so I went all in on Cardano, lost a bunch of money, and the price never recovered. So I'm all out of Cardano now. But then, when I was all worried about it dropping, then you just find people talking about the cycle, and I went, oh, by the way, here's the Bitcoin volatility chart. So you see, it's just dropping over time. Um, so there's less money to be made, but it's still, look at the price movements. It's gone from 130K to, I stopped watching it after I sold my put, but uh now it's at 69,000. And this is the part of the cycle, if it drops more, if it goes down and sits around 60,000, everybody's going to say you could have bought Bitcoin 5 years ago and you'd be at a loss. And that's when, the casual people sell their Bitcoin. They go, this is a terrible asset. It drops way down, then I'm going to buy back in and watch it go up to 130,000. And I don't know what the peak will be, but maybe like I have to do an analysis on the peak. Um, but say it, maybe 130,000 was double 60,000, 69,000, under double. So say it just goes up 40% from 139K. Even 30, let's do 33%. 3 is my lucky number. It'll hit 184K. So if I buy in at the low, say it's at 60K, you could triple your money. I don't know. That's pretty good. And if you buy calls, you'll do even better than triple. Sorry, I'm not reading the comments while I'm just blabbing. Didn't really pan out as technology solutions. Used to try and track yeah, I know that's the problem. If you're into coding, then you get into all the coding part of it. I used to do literally the same thing as Cardano, track the commits on their Git, and then I'd be like, oh, they're coming out with this new feature. Now it's gonna accelerate. But really, I think Bitcoin's the only true crypto that's worth anything long term. Maybe Ethereum. Uh, Ethereum's pretty good. Um, I have like half an ETH. Um, didn't really pan out, but have always been a little perplexed on what to really use as a signal. Dude, use the cycles. I mean, the signal. The signal for me is if basically the cycle thesis is we'll hit the low at the all time at the local minima at the end of the year. So if that happens, then I'll be proven right. I'm buying in. Um, but if the cycle's broken, then I'm gonna hold off and go, I don't know what the hell's happening. Do you think people will still be committing GPU resources to mining though? Feel like there is way too much infrastructure. Well, you don't use GPUs for Bitcoin. You use ASICs. ASICs basically, what's the difference? GPUs, parallel computing. ASIC is like a CPU that moves super fast. So they use ASICs in AI data centers to have the GPUs talk to each other. So they're going to become really valuable for AI. But at the end of the day, if you can buy a Bitcoin mining machine which has a bunch of ASICs in it, and make money, everyone's gonna use that. Iran right now, their oil is so cheap that in America people are losing money mining Bitcoin right now. But in Iran, the government is just basically converting their oil to Bitcoin. Um, do you think? Oh yeah. Yeah, the insider trading stuff is an interesting problem though. Yeah, and also if you could make a model to it's an interesting regulatory problem. And honestly, I think long term I was so excited when they legalized sports betting in 2018. Um, but I've kind of changed my opinion on that. And now I think sports betting's not going to work long term. It's going to become illegal again because the insider stuff. And I think the same thing's going to happen for um, prediction markets. And also there's that big news story like people betting on the Ayatollah being killed. Like that stuff's just gross. And Once you have, like Trump's doing all this insider trading. What if Trump told somebody? What if somebody's in Trump's ear saying, "Kill the Ayatollah, I'll make $1 billion"? It's like, whoa, that's truly evil. So it really opens the door for evil stuff. The peak is no, no. For this cycle, the minimum should be the end of the year. Um, End of 2026, beginning of 2027. But then the halving is moving earlier. It was in July, then it was in May, then it was in April. So uh, I don't know when it's going to be, so I'm going to start buying in at the end of September, is my plan. Um, oh, yeah. Thanks. Yeah, I get started blabbing. I read the chat too much and start blabbing. But that's because there's, for a long time I was streaming and nobody was commenting in the chat, so it's really exciting when I see chats. Um, oh yes, but anyway, Paprika. The peak isn't a year from now for the cycle. The minimum is the minimum should be sometime between the beginning of October and January. So that's how we know the cycle's holding. Um, if that doesn't happen, then I'm staying out. Whoa, uh, I don't know what I'm working with anymore. Um, then the return to the all time high, I guess that's not as reliable. I just saw, but then the peak should be 4 years from last November. So sometime around like maybe September 1st to the end of the year of 2029 should be the next peak, if the cycle continues. Yes, I agree. Sports betting has ruined the pro leagues. I totally agree. I mean, sports is all about people putting their passion into the game, and they're making money. But really, that's what makes sports art. I'm always arguing with uh, people who don't like sports. They're like, I like the arts, and I always tell them like, sports is an art. It's like the ultimate performing art. It's the ultimate live play. Nobody knows what's gonna happen. You watch the NFL. It's like a play, but nobody's gonna know what happens in the next act. Like all sports are like that, and you have guys who they grew up watching the sport, loving the sport, and if you're watching the Super Bowl, that's like the highest art form I could think of. Or, it's on par with the other high art forms. You have a guy diving for the end zone in the Super Bowl. There's that guy, I don't remember his name, but he played for the Rams and he broke his femur in the Super Bowl. And he still played. There's that other play, I think it's also the Rams, where the guy's diving to the end zone to get the touchdown, and then the defense is putting all they have in to stop him, and they stop him inside the 1 yard line on the last play of the game. This is like the highest level of performing arts I could think of. Wait, what do you agree with, Derek? The sports is a performing art. Um, anyway, so this is kind of a conservative estimate for the next Bitcoin high, but I need to do an analysis. I haven't done any analysis on it. Yeah, that's actually what opened my eyes up to it too. Is you do martial arts, or you're a fan of martial arts? But yeah, that I've thought the same thing about like the UFC. Have two guys, they're fighting in front of the world. You're fighting to become a champion or work your way up to the championship. A UFC championship match or boxing championship. This is the highest level. You're putting everything in, all your training, all your passion, all your, everything. It's like you watch a TV show. People say a TV show is art or a movie is art. It's like this is something somebody created to try to like convey how they feel about the world. You watch sports, it's like they're not this. It's just like the ultimate expression, I think. Um, yeah, the Olympics are very artistic. Yeah, well, anyway, that's cool because that's MMA. Being a UFC fan is what made me think of that. And also, I'm always around nerds and like the nerd jock divide. There's some nerds who like sports. There's some sports guys who are also nerds, but there's a huge divide, and lots of people who like sports go, I don't get into the you like paintings or something? And lots of people who are like nerds, they paint or like classical sorts of artists, they go, "Oh, I like real arts, not sports. Sports is for brutes." And it's like you guys are totally missing the mark. You guys like the same thing. It's different art forms you're enjoying. And guess what? If we're humans, we like art. So, anyway, BJJ and judo. Cool. Which one do you like better? I did BJJ for a while, but it was just taking up too much time, you spend so much time if you go I go to like a couple classes per week, and then they have like the whatever they call like the open session, free roll or whatever. It's so much fun. I love wrestling. I used to wrestle with my brother all the time, and he doesn't want to wrestle anymore because we're getting old, he says. We're 29, so I have a twin brother. Um this doesn't seem that complicated. Go ahead and write the code. All right, let me update the GitHub in case there's anything I'm missing here. Sectors. I'll add sectors and say retrieved sectors. Clean analysis. So there I'm only updating if the data is already generated. Clean, adjusted data retrieval to simplify walk forward analysis. Pull sectors, don't want to add that yet, don't want to add that yet, don't add that, don't add that, don't add that. Fetch symbols, okay. Added script for pulling symbols from dolt data. So I do want to add that. Don't want to add that. Don't want to add that. Okay, so we're good. Push. Yeah, that probably. Wait, what do you like better? I forgot to. Oh, BJJ is more fun because judo takes longer to get good at. Yeah, I also like that. No striking, you're not gonna get a head injury. That's really what I don't want. Anything that might hurt my ability to think, I'm afraid of. No, don't update the whole fucking thing. Stop. Don't update the whole thing. Just give me the code I need to add or change and explain where to put it. Once you've given me the code, explain what you changed and what it's doing. Reason from first principles. Okay. So we have VIX. Now let's add sector. Very good. I'm gonna get out of this guy for now. Auto Explorer, get sectors. All right, so let's go back to feature analysis. Scripts, feature engine, I mean. And let's add this feature. Get out of there. Prevent it from running the time series loop. Okay, so we're defining other requests. Put that guy in. Oh, if not, okay, so that's fine. Put this guy here. Oh yeah, that's true. Have you seen that video of Putin where he teaches that kid how to do that judo move? Makes Putin seem cool. Okay, got that. Load and merge the sector data. So before phase 2, do this. Change A, isolate numerical versus categorical features. For features, self.features is this. The problem is that I'm calling the features again later. If I create 3 different feature lists for the different types of features, this breaks things later on. Assess, reassess. Haven't seen that one. Wonder if judo was KG. Yeah, it was. That's why he knows it. Putin, KGB guy. Have you seen that interview when Tucker's interviewing Putin and Putin goes, he says, yes, like you applied to the CIA. You wanted to be in the CIA. And you see Tucker's like, he does the Tucker face. Huh. Huh. That's what Tucker always says. Huh. You make an excellent point. Okay, so features is good. Update to clean analysis. Man, that's funny. No, is that an original thought? I've never heard anyone else say that. Huh. That's exactly, dude, that's so funny. I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna steal that and say it to people in my life. Then they'll laugh and think I'm funny. I'll say this is. I'll give you credit though. I'll say this isn't my idea. However, a good point has been made to me. I've already made changes to feature engine.py, so don't include those again. Man, dude, that is really funny. And it's so applicable. And what's that? He always does some weird laugh, too. I can't think of how it is, but he does go, huh. That's exactly what Elmo would do. Uh, break anything else later. You should. Do you do open mic comedy? I've never done it, but I'm a big fan. It's open mic comedy is also a high form of art in my opinion because you go there. I haven't been to one since I live here because there's no good ones close by, but there was a really good open mic comedy night in Baltimore I used to always go to. I would go like every week. And here's why it's so good because you either have comedians who are really good and they make you laugh. It's like free comedy, just what you want. Or the comedians are really bad, and that's hilarious too. It's hilarious they would go up, with this like ridiculous comedy. There was one guy in Baltimore who always did this joke about like his mom's vagina. I don't remember exactly what the joke was, but it made me cringe every time I heard it. And then one day he brought his mom and he's like, "My mom is here tonight, everybody." And I was like, "He's not going to do that joke, is he?" And sure enough, he went through and did the joke about his mom's vagina. And I was like, "Good God, man." And there's this other guy who'd always go on at the end and like he was like bad. He didn't really have good jokes and then people would heckle him and then he would get mad at them and so they'd always put him on at the end. I missed that. That was a good show. Well, you can't be a perfectionist. The guys at the open mic comedy night I went to, they were all. I always cuff up my pants, and one time I went to a paid comedy night in Salt Lake City, and this guy pointed at my cuffed pants, and he says, "This guy's ready for a high tide." Anyway, you can't worry about being perfect. You just got to get up there and start throwing the jokes out. I think. What's hard is the reason I've never gone up is because I'm a um, it's like I don't know how to define it. Just being scared of talking in front of people and then they'll think I'm dumb. I'm afraid of that in a stupid way. But um, anyway, so end features is defined as a local variable. Oh yeah, so good to go. However, there is a critical bug. While verifying that this change won't break anything, I noticed a flaw in the original code. That will prevent it from actually working. In your current workflow, split data is called before train model. When you do this in split data, pandas allocates a new memory. It is a copy, not a live view. Yeah, but I'm calling that before I call train model, right? So I don't think I should be worried about that. Model Explorer. Explorer's Model Explorer. Model 12. So here I'm doing add features, add target. I didn't add noise there, I guess. What's the function again? for adding noise. Inject noise. Oh, so that's called in train model. Okay, so I wasn't injecting noise. I've been wanting to. I think the way around that is to have an act planned when you're dumb and trolling the audience. Yes, that's true. No, I think that's a good strategy. Good night, Derek. Thanks for tuning in. I should pass out too, but I'm blabbing too much and making slow progress, so I need to get down to business and actually finish this. All right, let's focus. Okay, I'm not going to worry about injecting noise. Um, so I'm shielding the noise injection. Preserve data types in shadow feature selection. Is there anything I need to change in the model? I'll just say don't worry about changing the features selection code. Just give me updates I need to make so the model will run. I'm not going to inject noise for now, so don't worry about that either. Thank you. That will help me get to work. And I should listen to music. Let me put some music on. Oh, my phone's gonna die soon. All right, so let's start making a new model. So what am I on? Model 13. I have model 14, so I'm going to do model 15. Same as model 12, but includes sectors as a feature. Oh, okay. I'll do that. Roll the dice one more turn. It's a hard ass lesson to learn. Roll the dice one more turn. That's it. I'll just do that, and then shift is -1. Okay. So model 15, same as model 12, but includes sectors. Includes sectors as a feature. So model 12. Roll the dice one more turn. Oops. Okay, now let's go down here. If test underscore model 15 is equal to true. Let's do all that. And then we're going to add a feature for the sectors. Sector feature is equal to feature request sector shift is -1. Okay, 0.6, 0.81. So I'm using the same data splitting as model 12. I haven't run that for a while. So I'm going to run this first to see if it improves on the results of model 12. And then I'm going to just have to go back and run model 12 one more time to get the results and make sure that, it's returning the same. So test model 15. Let's do equals 0. Test model. Oh, okay. I'll add this here. Test model 15 is equal to 1. And we should be good. So let's run this now. Model Explorer. Let's get out of here. Go to Explorers. I need to make sure this is saved and also the feature engine is saved. Okay. Now we're running the same as Model 12. Oh no. What the fuck? Oh, Conda activate stock market. Good. Oh, I didn't add the sector feature, did I? So let's go back to the Explorer. Sector feature, and then we'll say features dot append sector feature. All right, so let me document this. Oh. All right, import pandas as PD. I'm gonna put this in the center. If you can hear me, won't you throw a damn dog a bone? All right, so sectors is equal to pd.read CSV. And we're gonna go to data/data/sectors.csv sectors, and then we'll say sectors where sectors.sector is equal to unknown. Oh, I forgot I was running the sector retrieval somewhere. But so sectors is equal to sectors underscore 2025. What did I save it as? Bronco record peel. Today 2:14 a.m. Oh no. Data/sectors.csv. What the fuck? I overwrote the file. Alright, well, I'm just passing it as features. So 67 unknown features. I guess that shouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Moon rising. Alright, now it's running the model. We're doing 50 trials for tuning the hyperparameter. So let's see how that works. Come on. All right. I'm gonna have to go back and look more at the sector data. That's okay though. Let's just see if this improves the model. Okay, here's all the features, so let's look if we're getting sectors. Sector, whoa. Sector log price. I guess does it append log price? I don't know what the deal with that is. Mean rank I see is worse. This guy looks worse. Okay, so I'm gonna have to fix that sector code again. What about standard deviation? Not bad. ICIR, good. Annual ICIR, good. T statistic, not as good as we want it. All right. Well, that's it for tonight. I need to tomorrow. I need to go back and finish the sector stuff, and then incorporate the sectors, and then incorporate the normalization with the sectors. So I had it all, and then I fucked it up, and overwrote the file. But that's okay because I need to do it with this new method where I'm checking everything, because I'm a lot more confident in that. So that's it for tonight. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. And I'll be back at it tomorrow. So, adios. Have a good rest of your night. File, but that's okay because I